Hi everyone, my name is Phyllis and I'm the owner of Mad Moody Quilting Fabrics. And I wanted to come on today to show you how I square up my half square triangles. I was not a big fan of squaring up, I'll be honest with you. If I can avoid doing it, I will. But quite a few years back, I guess this year's my 5th year, I started doing something called a mystery quilt along on Facebook under Phyllis's Mystery Quilt Along. So if you want to join, you're welcome to join us. And it's Phyllis's Mystery Quilt Along. We're just over halfway through the 2023 mystery. I haven't started designing the 2024, but I have ideas and I hope to start soon to design the next year's, which starts in January. So every January, just before I start the first month of the year with instructions on what you need for your supplies and all that stuff, I delete all the previous posts from the year before, and we start fresh each January on the 15th of every month I post. So this month's was half square triangles that we had to do, and I thought it would be really great to come on and show you how I would square up a half square triangle. Now I have several options for you and everything, so I'm going to switch over to the above camera. And so now this is my half square triangle, and it's going to be including seam allowance 2.5 inches. Now if you're not a fan of squaring up, you could use something like these. And one of the ladies that is doing the mystery quilt along, this is what she uses for her half square triangles. She says it's fast and accurate and there's no need for squaring up. And she's correct. There's no need to square up when you use these. And normally I do use these, but I have other clients who like to, and other people who are participating who prefer doing the traditional squaring up with a ruler. But this is an option. Now I do not have the 2-inch finish size available, but by the time this airs, they should be arrived in. But so I thought I would show you a few. You can use a 2.5 inch regular squaring up ruler, and you just take this diagonal line and you put it along this seam allowance, and then you would just go in, and I always find that these move on me, so you just go in and you square up one side. I like using this mat. Then you would I just take this apart. I'm not very good with squaring up. I really hate doing squaring up, but these ones, and then you would just line it back up and square up the other one. So that is using, they have to be 2.5 inches and 2 inches finished. So if you buy something like this, you want it to say here 2 inches finished half square triangles. That's what you want, 2 inches. This is 1 1/4, and the raw is 1 3/4. And raw means including seam allowance, and they finish at 1 1/4. So you want, if you want to do it with these, you want this here to say 2 inches, okay? Now, so, or you can use an actual squaring, a ruler at 2.5 inches. That's really easy. Now, let me show you what you would do if you did not have a 2.5 inch square, okay? Now, these ones here, this is 6.5 by 6.5, and you're wondering, well, how would I go about squaring that up? This is just a little bit bigger than the 2.5 inches. it measures just like 1/8 of an inch bigger. So we're taking like 1/16 of an inch off all the way around. So you can do that very easily with this. And you would put that diagonal line on it. And what I do is I find my 2.5 inch line here, and I find my 2.5 inch line there. And I just go slightly past those lines here and here. So I would take off what I need to take off here, like this. And then I would turn it around and reline up. Now I would like to get this out of the way. And then you would take this and line up these cuts that you just did. You did this cut and this cut, and you would go in and line up the 2.5 inch mark on the ruler against that, and make sure that this down here is diagonally on the seam allowance, and then square that up. So that's really easy to square up. And you can do that with any size square ruler. You can, happens to be 6.5. You could do it with a 3.5. You can do it with 4.5. You can do it with a 12.5 or a 10.5 or an 8.5, whatever. So you can use a much bigger ruler and square them up. And the two different rulers perfectly squared up. My favorite ruler by far, because I am not a fan of squaring up. So when I do have to square up, I like to use the block lock rulers. Now, I usually have a kit of these. I am planning to get more in, so keep an eye out on the website to see if they come in. I did a kit from, I think it was 1.5 all the way up to 6.5. Okay, and there's a little ridge right in here. I don't know if you can see that. You can kind of see it here. That little ridge is actually indented. So it's like, it's kind of cut out of the ruler. And that is your, this is your half square. So this line here is your half. But this is a ridge that will sit on top of the seam allowance, just like, I'm just going to make sure I put this on correctly. There we go. So it would sit depending on which way your seam allowance is. If the seam allowance was going towards the white, I would turn it this way. But because the seam allowance is towards the darker fabric, I'm going to make sure that whole ridge is sitting on the darker fabric. And this one that's lined up, this ridge here that's lined up on the points, will be nest in. And see, this is not moving anywhere. It lies flat, it holds the fabric down. When you work with something like this, it rocks on that seam allowance. It rocks a little bit and it can shift, and that's why I'm not a fan. But with these, I love these squaring up rulers. She has a whole bunch of different shapes, but this is so easy. I don't even pick up, I just turn the ruler and continue squaring up. And this is just as good a squaring up system as this is. So you see this one, these were done, and this is perfectly the same size. So let me show you that again quickly. And I'm going to put it like that. Actually, I'm just going to turn it like this. So it's all right. So there, you make sure that the ridge is sitting over the seam allowance, and then you just have to go in, and nothing moves when you cut. The best squaring up system. And there you go. And you could work very quickly with one of these rulers, because you don't have to line up. You don't have to look where, like with this one, I had to check where that I have a little bit of fabric just past the 2.5-inch markings on this side and this side, and then I have to turn everything and do it again, right? So this is so much faster and easier, and I love them. They're the block locks. I will be receiving more in. I just have to get my order put together and get these in, but I will be receiving them in, and please keep an eye out for them. Okay, so that's it for today, and we'll see you on the next tutorial share day. Bye bye.